Okay, let's get right into it, because AWS just rolled out a change to its AI infrastructure that is, well, it's a pretty huge deal. We're talking about a move that could completely change how we build, and more importantly, how we can afford to build large-scale AI.
But to really get why this is such a big announcement, we first have to talk about a massive problem, a huge bottleneck that's been holding back enterprise AI for a while now. It's a problem that has cost companies a fortune. And that problem is what the source material calls the memory wall. See, before this, if you were a developer trying to give your AI a long-term memory, you were faced with some really tough and, frankly, really expensive choices.
So first, just a super quick refresher on what we're talking about here, vectors. You can think of them as the native language of AI. They're what turn messy human stuff like text and images into numbers that a machine can actually understand and see the relationships between. They are the core of all of this.
Okay, so if you wanted to store all these vectors, you were pretty much stuck between a rock and a hard place. Option 1. Use these specialized, super-fast in-memory databases. Great speed, but the cost? It just explodes once you start indexing, say, your entire company's document library. Option 2. You do it yourself. Cheaper, sure, but you end up drowning your best engineers in just managing the darn thing. Neither one was a great answer.
So what's Amazon's solution to this dilemma? Well, it's kind of brilliant. They're taking one of their oldest, most foundational services and turning it into something completely new. For almost 20 years, S3 has been, the internet's hard drive, a giant passive closet where you just store files. That's over. This announcement changes S3 from just a storage closet into an active brain that can actually understand the meaning of the data it holds.
What AWS has really done here is create a whole new third option that shatters that painful choice. You still get that simple store it and forget it vibe of S3. You still get its famous 11 nines of durability, but now it has built-in intelligence. It breaks that memory wall because searching by meaning isn't some expensive add-on anymore. It's just a basic feature of storage.
So how does this all work behind the scenes? Well, get ready, because the numbers we're about to look at are they're absolutely mind-boggling.
Okay, so a single S3 vector index, think of that as like one single searchable library, can hold up to 2 billion vectors. That alone is massive. But wait, it gets crazier. A single S3 bucket can hold 10,000 of those indexes.
You do the math, and that brings the theoretical limit to a staggering 20 trillion vectors in one bucket. We're not even talking about a database anymore. This is a data lake for AI embeddings. It's planetary scale.
And they also solve this really annoying developer headache called the dual fetch problem. When you do a vector search and then you have to make a second trip to another database just to get the actual text, by letting you store the text chunk right with the vector, that extra step is just gone. It simplifies everything and makes it faster.
Okay, the architecture is elegant, the scale is incredible, but honestly, this next part is the most disruptive piece of the whole announcement. Let's talk about the money.
This chart just says it all. Let's look at a pretty typical setup. 10 million vectors, 1 million queries a month. With a traditional provisioned database like OpenSearch, you're paying over $200. A specialized competitor like Pinecone gets you down around $40. And S3 vectors? Just over $11. It's not even in the same league. Yeah, you're seeing that right. Compared to that traditional model, we are looking at a price drop of up to 95%. That's not just an improvement, that's a complete game changer. This makes S3 Vectors the clear, undeniable winner for the kind of AI apps most people are building right now. Things like internal company chatbots or research tools where you have a ton of data, but you're not querying it millions of times a second. For those heavy storage, light query jobs, it's a no-brainer.
So, when something gets this cheap, it's not just about saving money, it's about what you can finally build. What new doors does this massive price drop actually kick open?
Well, for starters, there's this killer integration with Amazon Bedrock. It creates what they call a zero ETL pipeline. ETL is all that boring, complicated data prep work. Now you can literally just drop a PDF into a bucket, and Bedrock automatically chops it up, creates the vectors, and indexes them. A project that used to take days can now be done in minutes.
And this affordability unlocks entirely new kinds of applications. Enterprises can finally index all their data, every document, every email. You can build AI agents with a practically infinite, cheap, long-term memory. Media companies can search their video archives for abstract concepts. Law firms can search through millions of documents for meaning, not just keywords. The list goes on and on. Okay, so let's zoom out for the big finish here. Because this isn't just about vectors or AI. This points to a much bigger trend in how the cloud itself is evolving.
This quote from the source material just perfectly nails it. The whole idea that you need a separate, specialized vector database as a piece of your tech stack is now being fundamentally challenged. It's not a separate thing anymore. It's just a bucket.
What we're seeing is a major trend that people are calling the Great Unbundling. All these complex, expensive features that used to belong in a database are being pulled out and baked right into the basic, cheap storage layer. They're becoming a utility, just like electricity or water. And that leaves us with this one last really provocative question. For decades, our storage has been dumb. It knew file names, but that's about it. Now, it understands context. It understands meaning. So the question is no longer if we can build these incredibly knowledgeable AI systems. The real question is, what are you going to build with it?